Hey guys, Big Geordie Geek here, and I've been asked a couple of times how I achieve the mud effect on my Leman Russes. As we demonstrated last week, we did the camo, and now we're going to do the mud on the tracks. It's really, really simple, and to be honest, you could just do the first step and you'd be perfectly happy, but I like to take it a little bit closer. Well, further. Let's see how I do it. Head to the painting table, I guess. Okay, let's get some mud on the tracks here. We're going to be using Stirland Mud. Oh, some silver on it. As you see, I weathered this. Now, normally I would apply transfers, but I'm not doing any transfers. I don't know my silver. Well, on my Militarum. Basically, I want to be able to use these with any particular armor. We're just going to take Stirland Mud with your texture tool, whatever you use, brush, texture tool, whatever. And we're just going to basically put it on the tracks. That's simply the first step. I mean, you can leave it relatively like this if you want, and that's fine, but I prefer to take it a little further, and that's what we're going to be doing. So right now, I'm going to go and get this all over this side of the vehicle. You want some spilling over the side as well, because the mud is going to be, it's not going to be just confined to the tracks, it's going to get on the hull as well, so that helps to sort of add to the realistic, very dirty effect. So let me go and get this all over the finger. You do get very mucky with this. Get this all over, and then we'll be back in a moment. Now, the next step, we're going to take some static grass. So I have some army painter stuff here, sort of like a big mixture of some various different grasses. So it doesn't really matter, but whatever fits your theme. I want you to, while the Stirland Mud is wet, we're just going to touch static grass to this. And what this does is, this sort of gives the effect that as it's been sort of rolling around the hills of whatever world they're on. I don't generally put some on the bottom, but it's just, you're not going to see that. That it's been churning up the mud, and I'm just going to empty it off. And what that does is it just adds that little bit of different texture to it. And don't worry, it looks pretty stark now, but once we start getting this dry brush, when this is dry, it's going to look very different. So what I'll do is I'll go away, I'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do some dry brushing. Right, for our next step, we'll do some dry brushing. Now I'm using, just let that attach there, it isn't glued or anything. Now I would recommend Gothor Brown, but I'm using Onyx Skin from the Army Painter Fanatic range. It's pretty much the same color. And as you can see, we got this texture has dried nice and lovely. And with that grass in there, it's just adding something a little bit different. As I say, it just gives the impression that this tank has been sort of rolling around the fields of whatever planet it's been on. It's been chewing up the mud, it's been chewing up the ground and taking the grass with it. And sort of this dry brush just sort of helps, because basically when if you look at tanks when they've been driving around, stuff starts drying on a bit of Gothor Brown sort of gives the impression that some of this mud is drying, and it also helps sort of blend in the grass with the mud. Anyway, one more step after this, and then we'll be done. And I'll come back when this is all done. Now, our final step is another dry brush. This one a bit lighter, and we're taking Screaming Skull. I'm just giving it a light. Oh, sorry, it's fallen off. It's not blue or anything. And all this does is this just the hint where bits have been drying a bit quicker. Yeah, and it just sort of helps tie things together. You don't need a lot of this, just a very light dry brushing, as I said. Just little bits of it here and there, and it sort of gives that impression of the mud has dried a bit faster than everywhere else. There is our finished product. So let's put this all together and see what it looks like. So let's take a look at the final product. Here is the tank in all its glory, all glued together. Well, the dozer blade is glued on the front, the top is on, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good, at least in my opinion. So let's take a closer look at the tracks there. So yeah, we zoom in there, you can see all that lovely texture. You've got the mud, you've got a little bit of the track showing through, and you've got that grass just still sticking out as if it's the ground's been ground up. And I think this looks absolutely phenomenal. At least that's my opinion, but others may vary. As I said, If you want to stop at just putting on the Stirland Mud, perfectly fine. If you just want to do the dry brush, brilliant. I think it looks great either way. But as I said, I like to take it that little bit further, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. And if you've liked it, feel free to comment, like, subscribe. It all helps me out and just lets me know that I'm actually doing something worthwhile. I will see you next time, and keep rolling those dice.